Whispers in the void. The galaxy was quiet. Stars burned slowly, planets turned without worry, and empires moved forward without fear. No one had heard the name human for more than 2,000 years. Some said Earth had been destroyed. Others believed humanity had left the galaxy on their own. But most thought they were simply dead, gone, forgotten. In the grand halls of the Galactic Council, the old races spoke proudly. They ruled the stars now. They made the rules, controlled the trade routes, and shaped the future. There was no one left to challenge them until a strange signal appeared. It came from the edge of known space near the Zentari Drift, a region so far and empty that even smugglers avoided it. The signal was weak, repeating, but its language was unmistakable to a few who still remembered ancient history. Terran code, old Earth transmission style. The first to pick it up was a minor patrol ship named Veltrix. It was a small crew, mostly bored guards watching the void. When the message repeated again and again, the commander frowned. "Is this some kind of joke?" he asked. "No, sir," the comms officer replied. "It's old, but human. It's real." The crew voted to investigate. They moved toward the signal's origin carefully. The coordinates led them to a dark, cold system. No planets, no moons, only a small black object floating in space. It was a ship, not like anything they had seen before. Its surface was smooth like glass. No windows, no lights, no engines visible. It looked like a shadow made real. The patrol ship hailed it. No response. They scanned it. No results. They tried again, this time broadcasting in hundreds of languages, including Old Terran English. Then something moved. The black ship turned slightly, not by engine, but as if it had heard them, and then it sent a message, only 2 words, "We're back." Before the crew could react, the lights on the Veltrix blinked once, then everything went silent. The ship disappeared from all sensors, gone without a trace. At the Galactic Council headquarters, a red alert spread across the network. A code not used in 2 millennia flashed on every screen. T-class threat detected, possible human contact. The council members gathered immediately. Ambassador Vaxor of the Gralvan Empire slammed a fist on the table. "This cannot be real. Humanity is extinct." But Chancellor Amari of the Threx Dominion was pale. Her voice shook. "My grandmother told stories of what humans did to the Kriv Horde, how they burned 5 suns in one battle. The old records were opened again, files labeled Terran Protocol, sealed for centuries, hush stories of how humans once turned entire fleets into dust, of how they vanished suddenly with a message, 'We go to silence, for your safety.' Now the silence was broken. Ships were sent to investigate, but those that got too close to the Zentari Drift returned with scrambled memory cores. Some didn't return at all. Meanwhile, whispers began to spread in dark corners of space. Some said they saw black ships watching from a distance. Others claimed humans were building something massive. Outside the edge of the galaxy, a message was broadcast again, this time across 10 sectors, simple, calm, and chilling. "You forgot us, but we never forgot you." Fear returned to the stars. On the planet Draxel, a merchant screamed when he saw a man step off a ship. The man looked human, tall, silent, eyes glowing faint blue. He said nothing, just walked into the crowd. And suddenly, everyone froze, because they knew what he was. He didn't need an army. He was the message. Across the galaxy, races prepared for war or surrender. Old weapons were pulled from vaults. Ancient alliances were reformed overnight, but deep down, every leader, every soldier, every citizen understood one thing. Humanity was back, and the galaxy trembled. The forgotten name. The Galactic Council was in chaos. The word human had not been spoken in the central chamber for over 2,000 years. Now it echoed like thunder. Every race that remembered Earth now whispered in fear, but most of the younger species only knew the word from ancient warnings, old warnings carved into forgotten satellites, left drifting at the edge of dead systems. They never believed those stories were true. Until now, Chancellor Kyle of the Varani Dominion stood up from his seat, his voice cut through the noise. "We must find out what they are planning. They've returned without reason, and their silence is not peace." Councillor Nari of the Eliari Confederation nodded slowly. "They were Unpredictable, she said. We studied them once long ago when they still attended council meetings. They were not cruel, she added, but they were capable of anything. The room went quiet. Someone finally said it. They didn't evolve like us, did they? No, said Nari. They evolved under pressure. Far from the council, on a quiet research moon orbiting the gas giant Relith, an old alien named Draws was reading forbidden data. He was a Cernak, a race of archivists. They were once allies of humanity before they vanished. He had spent his entire life collecting stories, but one folder had always been locked, even to him. Now, with the signal from the Zentari drift spreading across the stars, the locks were gone. The file opened with a strange pulse. Inside were old human battle reports, personal logs, diplomatic messages, and one final warning. A message written in Old Earth Standard, with one title. If you find this, we're still watching. Draws's breath froze in his throat. He read the first line. To the children of the stars, this is a reminder. Peace is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. We left because we had to. Then the second, D line. But if you see this message, then our silence has ended. Draws shivered. He realized something the council didn't. The humans hadn't returned suddenly. They had planned this. For centuries, maybe longer, back at the council, a secret meeting was held in the lower chambers. Only the oldest races were invited. The ones that had once gone to war with Earth and survived. The Vorn, the Threx, the Kari, and the Shulan. Ambassador Velk of the Vorn stared into the holographic display. It showed an old photo of a human captain, young, smiling, yet terrifying. This was the one who destroyed 5 of our moons with just one ship, he muttered. No army, no fleet, just her. The Shulan ambassador whispered. They had names. We tried to forget them, but we couldn't. They were more than soldiers, more than diplomats. They were... He paused, then said it. Legends. On the outer edge of council space, a listening station captured a new signal. But this one wasn't a message, it was music. Soft, old Earth music, something called classical. It floated across the stars like a ghost's lullaby. The technician didn't understand the language, but the sadness in the melody made her cry. Then the signal changed. A single voice spoke, clear and calm. We don't want war. But we remember everything, even the lies. And then the signal ended. The station's systems fried, and the technician sat in silence. Her eyes wide, her hands shaking, she whispered only one word. Humans. In a dark chamber of the Galactic Archive, the oldest AI still running, Model Lux 4, activated without command. It opened a database tagged Project Silent Star. Inside was the truth the galaxy had hidden. The day Earth disappeared, they had not died. They had sealed themselves away behind something called the Event Horizon Wall, and they had said one thing before they vanished. Do not follow. And now the wall was broken and they had returned. In a backwater colony on the mining world Drekon 9, a child found a black feather, but there were no birds on Drekon 9. The child picked it up. On it, small glowing letters appeared in human script. We remember. All across the galaxy, one truth was clear. They had forgotten Earth. They had erased the name human from every book, every lesson, every map. But now, the name returned. And with it, the galaxy remembered fear, the first contact. Again, a dark ship floated alone, just beyond the outer moons of Vikara Prime. No one had seen it arrive. No alarms had been triggered. No warp trails had been detected. It was just there, suddenly, like a ghost standing in your hallway when you wake at night. The Vekaran orbital station scrambled to respond. Security cruisers surrounded the unknown vessel, keeping weapons locked but not fired. The crew scanned it again and again, still no results. The hull absorbed all signals, gave no heat, no sound, no name, just a single symbol pulsing slowly near its center, a circle with a vertical line through it, a forgotten mark. But an old Vikaran war historian recognized it. He whispered in horror, "That's Terran." Inside the command deck of the orbital station, Captain Yeltri stood frozen. "This ship isn't answering," said his second officer. "Maybe it's broken," another offered, but Yeltri knew better. He turned to the comm panel, spoke slowly, using words no one had used in 1,000 years. Terran vessel, this is Vicara Prime. Please identify yourself. No answer. He tried again. This is a peaceful zone. State your intent. Silence. Then suddenly, the lights on the command deck dimmed, every screen went black, then white text appeared, typed slowly, one letter at a time. First contact attempt number 2. The crew stared in silence, the words faded, replaced by an image. It was Earth, blue and green, slowly turning in the darkness of space. Then came a voice, not mechanical, not threatening, calm, clear, human. It said, "This is Commander Elian Rhodes of the Sol Restoration Fleet. We are here to observe, not invade. We remember our first contact with your kind. You tried to understand us, and we tried to be kind. That kindness was repaid with betrayal." Captain Yeltry's hands trembled. The words continued. "We are not here for revenge. But if challenged, we will respond." Then the image faded. The screens returned to normal. The ship outside was gone. No engines, no trail, no flash. Just gone. Like a nightmare when you wake up. News spread across the galaxy in less than 6 hours. Terran contact confirmed. Human ship spotted near Vicara. Commander Rhodes speaks after 2,000 years. Some praised the peaceful message. Others panicked, but none could ignore the simple truth. Humans were here, and they were watching. On the planet Kortal, far from the Council worlds, a strange event occurred. A diplomatic conference was interrupted by a sudden blackout. All doors locked, communication cut. Then a beam of light shone in the center of the hall. A figure appeared, not in the flesh, but a perfect projection. A human, tall, calm, dressed in black, eyes glowing faint blue. The alien delegates gasped. "Who are you?" someone shouted. The figure smiled slightly. "I am here to remind you. The first time we came with open hands. This time, we bring no hands." The lights returned, the figure vanished, and every delegate found a symbol carved into their seat, the same circle with a vertical line. In deep space, an ancient AI satellite named Oracle 9 awakened. Its last memory was receiving an emergency code from Earth 2,000 years ago. The code said, "If humanity returns, trigger Protocol Alpha." Now the protocol activated. Across the stars, forgotten beacons lit up, each one sending out one word: prepare. Back in Council space, a fleet was dispatched to patrol the edge of the Zentari Drift again, this time with full weapons online, 12 cruisers, 2 battleships, and 1 command vessel. They reached the last known location of the Terran ship. Nothing was there, but then, behind them, one by one, their engines failed, shields dropped, weapons melted inside their launch tubes, and then a single Terran ship appeared. No shots fired, no words spoken, just presence. Then it left. All 12 ships were allowed to live, but their memory logs were wiped. All except one file, a file labeled Second Contact. This time, we choose when. The galaxy now knew something terrifying. Humans didn't need to fight to win. They didn't need ships or armies or weapons. Their message was stronger than any weapon ever built. They had returned. They were calm, quiet, watching, and that made them more dangerous than ever. The Council fractures. The Galactic Council had not faced a crisis like this in over 1,000 years. Once the proud rulers of peace, law, and order, now they sat in silence, staring at a dark screen in the high chamber. On that screen was a single line of text. "We watched your rise, your silence, and your lies." The message had arrived just hours after the human ship vanished from Vicara. No ship seen, no fleet launched, just a message sent across thousands of systems. At the same time, no known species had that ability, only one ever did. Humanity. Chancellor Threx of the Kari Empire slammed her clawed hand on the table. "We cannot allow this to continue," she growled. "We must prepare for war, now." Ambassador Valori of the peaceful LNA floated forward. "But they haven't attacked," she said softly. "We are the ones panicking, not them." General Varn of the Warclad clan stood, his metallic armor humming. "I agree with the Kari," he said. "We either strike now or wait to be crushed." The arguments began. Some shouted for peace, others demanded blood. But in the shadows of the council chamber, one voice went unheard, the voice of silence, the one that belonged to Earth, in a quiet corner of the chamber. Councillor Ryle of the Tharnas people watched silently. She had once visited Earth, a long, long time ago. She remembered warm oceans, strange music, and a child who offered her a red fruit called an apple. That same child had also shown her a drawing. It was of stars exploding with the words, "This is what we do when we're scared." Now Ryle feared that child might be one of the people behind the messages they were receiving. While the council shouted and argued, something worse was happening in secret. Leaked documents spread across the black market, documents proving the council once voted to destroy Earth, not for any crime, but for being too advanced, too unpredictable, too human. The files showed secret attacks, betrayals, and false peace treaties. It wasn't Earth who broke peace, it was the galaxy. Now the truth could not be hidden. Rebellion started on small planets. Colonies began taking down council flags. Even military officers refused to follow orders. One soldier said, "Live on Galactic broadcast. I will not fight ghosts. I was taught to fear but never understand." Meanwhile, new sightings of Terran ships increased, but no ship ever attacked. They just appeared, near war zones, corrupt cities, or council vaults. Then they vanished. Each time they left behind one thing, not bombs, not threats, but mirrors, perfect black mirrors standing in the center of cities. On each mirror, words appeared. "Look at what you've become." Inside the council chambers, desperation spread. "We must act before the people turn against us," shouted the Varani delegate. But the LNA ambassador whispered, "They already have." Then a voice spoke, not from a delegate, but from the chamber itself. Every screen lit up at once, and there stood a human, real, clear, alive. His hair was silver, his suit black, his eyes like starlight. He spoke slowly. "We did not return to rule. We returned to remind you of what you feared and what you became." The chamber fell silent. No one could speak. No guards moved. The human smiled. "This council is broken. You built it on control. Now the galaxy will decide what comes next." The image faded. One by one, council members turned to each other, not in unity, but in suspicion. Who supported Earth? Who knew the truth? Who betrayed them long ago? Old grudges flared. Alliances cracked. By the end of the day, 3 member races had withdrawn from the council. Others threatened war, and a new symbol began to appear on rebel ships. A circle with a vertical line, Earth's mark. In a hidden base on a frozen moon, young rebels gathered around a fire. One of them held a small device. It played an old human song, soft and haunting. None of them understood the words, but they felt something deep in their bones. Hope. The council was not defeated by weapons. It was being shattered by truth. The truth of what it had done, the truth of what it feared, and the truth of who was watching. Because Earth had returned, not to destroy, but to let the galaxy destroy itself. And so, the council fractured, and fear became the new law of the stars, the human message. It began without warning. Every screen, every data pad, every projection across the galaxy suddenly turned black, from the grand citadels of the council to the mining colonies on dust-choked moons, from the battle cruisers drifting in deep space to the private homes of farmers and workers. Everything stopped. Then a single voice spoke, not loud, not angry, just clear, human. We were never gone. We only stepped back. Across millions of systems, people froze in place. Leaders stared at their frozen displays. Children stopped playing. Soldiers dropped their weapons. The voice continued, "You forgot us, but we never forgot you. We watched you grow. We watched you build. And we watched you lie." On the desert world of Sharnath, an old woman dropped to her knees. She had seen Earth once. As a child, she had always believed they would return. Now, hearing that voice, her eyes filled with tears. In a council prison ship orbiting Malov 9, a young rebel whispered, "They're not coming to fight. They're coming to teach." The message changed from voice to vision. Across the galaxy, people saw images from Earth's past. A boy helping a wounded alien during the First Trade War. A human doctor healing both sides during the Solari Plague. A Terran general stopping his army to protect alien children caught in crossfire. And then, the same people were shown later, the boy shot by council security forces, the doctor labeled a traitor, the general executed by the council for unauthorized kindness. The voice returned. "We tried to be part of your world. You chose to fear what you couldn't control, so we left to protect you from what we were becoming. The images changed again, a Terran fleet surrounded by Council warships, a vote of exile passed in secret the day humanity disappeared, a child looking back from the ramp of a departing human ship, eyes full of confusion, not hate, then darkness, and then a simple white screen with these words, "This is not a declaration of war. It is a reminder of what you lost." Across the galaxy, people didn't move for minutes. No alarms rang. No one issued orders. Even the council sat in silence because they knew it wasn't a threat, it was a truth, but not everyone accepted it. The Kari Empire, one of the strongest military powers in the galaxy, declared the message an act of psychological warfare. They launched 10 fleets toward the Zentari Drift. They reached the edge of Terran silence where no sensors worked, no engines answered, and no return was ever recorded. The fleets vanished. In their place, one object appeared, a black obelisk floating just outside the Kari homeworld. On it, glowing in hundreds of languages, we offered peace, not protection. On the planet Velis Prime, a council scientist received a small, unmarked package. Inside it was a tiny device, Terran in design. When activated, it displayed a model of the galaxy, but certain systems glowed red. These were planets poisoned by council mining, worlds turned into graveyards. The device spoke. You ruled the stars, but you didn't care for them. Now the stars will remember. The device then turned to dust. Rebellions grew, but they were different now. They carried no weapons, only knowledge. People printed Earth's words on banners. We remember. We watched. We choose. Even children began to ask, why did we fear them? Why did they leave? The council called an emergency summit, but half the seats were empty. Some races had left, others simply refused to answer. One ambassador stood alone and asked the only question that mattered. What if we were wrong? The answer came 3 days later. In every major city, on every core world, a tall black monument rose from the ground, as if it had always been there. It had no doors, no screens, no lights, but it reflected whoever stood in front of it and showed them not who they were, but what they had become. Those who looked too long often walked away in tears. Some fell to their knees, others disappeared, but none who looked at the mirror ever denied the truth again. Earth had not returned for war, it had returned with a mirror and forced the galaxy to look. And in that reflection, they saw something more terrifying than ships, weapons, or power. They saw themselves, the return of Earth. For 2,000 years, Earth had been missing, not destroyed, not hidden, just gone. All maps marked it as a ghost system, all star charts labeled it unreachable, and no ship, no matter how advanced, ever found its way back. Until now, in a quiet part of the galaxy, beyond where charts ended and imagination began, a planet appeared, not slowly, not with warning, just happy. Paired sensors caught it first, a gravitational pulse, soft but massive, followed by magnetic waves, then color, blue oceans, green lands, white clouds, Earth, but not as it once was. This Earth shined, its surface pulsed like it was alive. Orbiting satellites the size of moons spun in perfect harmony. Energy fields circled it like rings, glowing with light no scientist could explain. It was Earth, but changed. Reborn. The first one to see it with their eyes was a pilot named Laura Tanis flying a scout vessel far beyond known borders. She gasped when her view screen filled with the image. "It's not a planet," she whispered. "It's a message." She tried to approach. Her ship refused. Engines stalled, systems paused, and a soft voice filled the cabin. "You are welcome to observe, but not to enter." She nodded and watched as the planet turned slowly, peacefully, like it didn't need to prove anything. News spread faster than light. Earth had returned, and it brought no fleet, no army, just itself. The Galactic Council, now broken and divided, gathered again. But this time the hall was silent. No shouting, no threats, only questions. What had Earth become? How had they done it? And why now? Then came the signal. Clear, direct, and undeniable. A single message broadcast across the stars. This is Earth. We have returned. Not as rulers, not as victims, but as witnesses to what you've built, to what we let happen, and to what must change. A human appeared at the gates of the council station, alone, unarmed, unafraid. He was allowed inside without resistance. Even the guards stepped back. His name was Elias Marek. He walked with calm steps, his presence like gravity, pulling attention, pulling truth. In the center of the chamber he spoke. You remember our silence? But do you remember why it began? No one answered. He raised his hand. Eyes. Small device floated above it. It displayed the day Earth vanished, the day the council voted for containment, the day humanity chose exile over war. You were afraid of what we were becoming. So were we. So we left. To evolve, to heal, to prepare. He stepped forward. Now we return not to punish, but to restore balance, if you let us. Some delegates bowed their heads, others left in silence. A few wept, but none denied the power of his words. And when he left the chamber, he left behind more than words. He left behind hope. Soon, across the galaxy, small changes began to appear. Advanced medicine distributed quietly to dying colonies. Polluted planets healed overnight by unknown machines. Forgotten species reintroduced into balanced ecosystems. Each act left unsigned but marked by one symbol, the circle with the vertical line, Earth's mark, but not all welcomed the return. The Kari remnant, still angry after losing their fleet, launched an attack. They sent a missile toward Earth's new orbit, one capable of cracking moons it never reached. The moment it crossed the boundary, it stopped. Then folded in on itself, silence followed. Then a soft pulse echoed from Earth. A wave of light spread across the galaxy. Not violent, not deadly, but enough to short out every weapon system for 20 light years. A message followed. Do not test what you don't understand. And so the galaxy watched, as Earth turned in peace. Never invading, never demanding, just existing, a reminder, a warning, a possibility that something greater, something better was possible, if only they chose it. The return of Earth was not about power, it was about presence, about showing the galaxy that peace too can be powerful. And now, the stars watched Earth, not in fear, but in awe. The galaxy trembles. The galaxy had seen wars. It had seen stars die, empires rise, and civilizations vanish. But it had never seen this. A return without force. A silence louder than any explosion. A presence that bent gravity would die. Without touching a single planet, Earth had come back. Not as a conqueror, not as a ghost, but as something else. Something the galaxy didn't know how to face. In the deepest reaches of space, ancient machines awakened. Devices left behind by old Earth explorers long before humanity vanished. They blinked in strange rhythms, sending messages the galaxy could not decode, until one day they stopped blinking and began humming softly, as if singing, as if welcoming something home. On Draxel 3, a council scientist looked at the data. Energy levels around Earth were not just stable, they were evolving, growing, learning, becoming. He stared at the monitor and whispered, "It's not just Earth that came back. It's something more." In a distant asteroid field, a single ship floated. An old smuggler named Cor Talon watched the planet from millions of kilometers away. He had seen wars, black markets, illegal tech, and monsters beyond belief, but nothing made his hands shake like that glowing world in the distance. He lit a smoke, took one puff, and said, "They didn't just survive, they ascended." Then came the final message. Not broadcast, not forced, just gently placed into every communication system in the galaxy. Text only. A human message, short. You were afraid of what we could do. Now you should wonder what we chose not to do. We are not your enemy. We are your mirror. The words spread like fire through every race, every ship, every home. In schools across planets, children asked, "What is Earth?" And teachers, once afraid, now spoke softly. It is a place where hope never died. In prisons, inmates stared at the sky, wondering if they too could change like Earth did. In council halls, silence ruled. No one gave orders, no one gave threats, because no one knew what Earth would do next, and that uncertainty carried more weight than any weapon ever created. Across the stars, change began. Not because Earth demanded it, but because Earth showed what was possible. The Sarnathi stopped their war with the Delians, not due to treaty, but because a single human drone dropped healing kits in both war camps without choosing sides. The Kravel mines shut down, not because of protest, but because the Terran symbol appeared in the sky for 3 nights straight, and no worker dared continue beneath it. Even the smallest things shifted. Languages started adopting Terran words. Art changed. Songs began to carry human instruments. And dreams, yes, even dreams, started showing blue oceans and green forests to people who had never seen either. The galaxy wasn't trembling from fear anymore. It was trembling from realization that what it feared was what it needed. One day, a boy on the planet Ultri saw something no one believed. A human stepped off a quiet ship, smiled, and handed him a seed. The boy asked, "What is it?" The human answered, "It's the beginning." On Earth, hidden behind its shimmering skyfield, humanity watched. They did not cheer, they did not invade, they simply observed and waited, because they knew change didn't come through control, it came through reflection, and now the stars were beginning to see themselves differently. The Terran Council, rebuilt in silence, filled with minds that had lived for centuries, spoke one final time to the galaxy, not to warn, not to demand, just to remind. We are not gods. We are not saviors. We are what happens when a species chooses to evolve instead of destroy. Your future is still yours. But know this, you are no longer alone. And with that, Earth disappeared once more. Not vanished, not gone. Just quiet, watching, waiting, hoping. And so the galaxy trembled, not in fear, but in the weight of its own reflection, because Earth had returned. And this time, they didn't need to lift a finger to change everything.